Yeah, although prosecutors don't have to show a motive to get a conviction for first-degree murder, juries want to know the motive, especially when they see this clean-cut guy with no criminal background. They want to know why he did it. Now, I think it's coming into focus why he did it. He seemed to be a devotee of serial killers and crime. I mean, he studied under the BTK's autobiographer. I mean, he was so interested in true crime that it looks like he wanted to be the center of his own story.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Law enforcement did a great job of solving this case. Let's deep dive into their hunt for the perpetrator of the crimes at the 1122 King Road home. Officer Payne walked through the crime scene for his initial pass on that Sunday afternoon. The items were strewn about like it was a typical college student. He wrote in his police report he noticed nothing out of the ordinary on the first floor. He then proceeded up the stairs, and there was a second floor bedroom, and he saw a young woman who was later identified as Xana with, very badly. I'm not going to describe anything. I'm going to keep this G-rated, but obviously she had been done away with. And beside her, still in bed, partly covered with a blanket, was her boyfriend, Ethan Chapin. Officer Payne continued upstairs to the third floor, where he saw two young women, later identified as Kaylee Gonzalez and Maddie Mogan, lying in the bed next to each other. Next to the women was something out of place. He spotted a key piece of evidence, according to the Idaho State Police Lieutenant Darren Gilbertson, a leather knife sheath, which we now know had the DNA belonging to BK in the snap of that knife sheath. Officer Brett Payne relayed the details to Lieutenant Gilbertson, who got to Moscow about a half hour later with his team. So notice one of the things that I think that the Idaho State Police did that was right versus what in other crimes we've seen where they have not handled things right. And one of the things that they did that was right, in my opinion, for this crime scene is that they immediately brought in the Idaho State Police and the FBI. This was a small town police department. They knew it was more than they could handle on their own, and very wisely added in the Idaho State Police. So we're hearing now from Officer Brett Payne and Idaho State Police Lieutenant Darren Gilbertson. So Officer Brett Payne relayed the detail about the knife sheath to Lieutenant Gilbertson, who got to Moscow about a half hour later with his team. So the police called him to assist, and we knew it was important. We knew it didn't fit in there. We're talking about to the Idaho Statesman, which is my sourcing on this. Quote, obviously, this is Lieutenant Gilbertson. We knew that it appeared that all four had been, and I'm paraphrasing here, done away with a knife, and probably the same one. Other potential clues were sparse, and it soon became clear to Idaho State Lieutenant Gilbertson, who drove up from Lewiston, that he was observing a whodunit, and he was going to put everything that he had into focusing and solving this case. So Moscow police secured the house. They secured the crime scene. Not even James Fry, then local police chief and former investigator, entered the crime scene. This is how secure they made it. For hours, police waited to begin collecting evidence until a search warrant was approved at about 5 p.m. Lieutenant Gilbertson said hundreds of reports released by the Moscow Police Department and reviewed by the Idaho Statesman showed the police quickly cordoned off the area and began tasking officers with varying assignments. The initial responder identified the college-age people gathered out front of the house. Another officer logged the people entering the home, and a corporal took initial photos. And a patrolman stood guard at the sliding glass door at the kitchen, which was found ajar. So now we're learning that the door wasn't just left wide open, it was found ajar. So definitely that was the entrance and exit of the perpetrator. So more than a dozen people, including Dylan and Bethany, who survived. Family members and friends of the victims were taken to the police station about a mile away for interviews. And one after another, they were questioned, basically interrogated by law enforcement. Those who remained waited within the department's second floor training room. Moscow Police Chief Anthony Dallinger told the Idaho Statesman by phone. Now, other officers were busy canvassing the neighborhood to obtain video from every house with a surveillance system. So this happened right away. They were gathering video, which explains the 12 hours of raw video footage that Ann Taylor said she didn't have time to go through. And oh, by the way, Judge, could you just throw that out for me? Pretty please? Could you just throw that out? Because I don't have time to look at the video footage. Of course, that was denied. They also found footage from a camera and a light bulb base of the immediate neighbor's balcony. And this may be why that particular camera caught so much and why Bryan Kohberger didn't know there was a camera right there. A lot of people have asked me in the comment section about this. And it turns out that there was footage from a camera in a light bulb base. So it wasn't immediately discernible as a camera, and this would become a critical piece of evidence. The next day, so that all happened on day one. They're collecting the videos, they're talking to the neighbors, they've secured the crime scene, they found the knife sheath, they've called in the Idaho State Police who have arrived on the scene. The next day, November 14th, investigators focused on what would be the key to unlocking the entire case, which was the tan leather knife sheath. It was stamped with the U.S. Marine Corps Eagle, Globe, and Anchor emblem, and designed for a K-bar knife. A former U.S. Marine, Lieutenant Gilbertson, had a particular familiarity with this particular K-bar knife. And remember, this particular knife, K-bar makes other knives for animals and for hunting, but this particular one that this knife sheath matched was designed for humans. He said that the tips of K-bar knives are known to break off when used in combat, but that didn't happen in this one. Troopers drove to South Meridian the day after the crimes to hand deliver it to the Idaho State Police Crime Lab to begin inspecting it for potential DNA. So that's the knife sheath. Right away, they're looking for DNA. Meanwhile, in Moscow, an officer was sent to local businesses to ask about possible K-bar knife sales. Now, we now know that Bryan Kohberger purchased the K-bar knife in March of 2022 from Amazon and had it delivered to his own name at his parents' address, and thought that by using a gift card and trying to erase his Amazon search history that he would be able to fool law enforcement. And as Olivia Gonzalez told him, he did not. A police spokesman and Dallinger, who was captain with the department at the time, denied specific inquiries into the K-bar knives around town in the investigation's first few weeks. He said that we wanted to protect that information from any potential, the suspect is still out there. So remember that Papa Roger talked about this. So Papa Roger had to either be a member of law enforcement, because the public didn't know, or Papa Roger was Bryan Kohberger. So if we let it slip or let it be known that we were specifically looking for a K-bar knife, that would tip them off that we found the sheath and that we got a piece of evidence here. If you haven't subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. It's free and it helps me out a lot. Give this a thumbs up and drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I've been feeling weird, I can't seem to focus good enough.